Zuber and Company, fire forensic experts and forensic engineers. Seeking answers from ashes. Seeking answers.
You know, we've all done it. You get a long contract, you skim it, you sign it. Most of the time it's fine. But what if just a few of those words you skipped could end up costing you millions? Well, today we're going to dive into a story like that, a real cautionary tale hidden in the fine print of an insurance policy. Take a look at this number. 2 crores, 46 lakhs, and 6,000 rupees. That is a huge amount of money. And it's the amount at the absolute heart of this story. A massive loss that a business suffered. A loss they were sure their insurance would cover.
I mean, that's the whole deal with insurance, isn't it? You pay your premiums, you do your part, and when disaster hits, you have a safety net. It seems so simple, but as we're about to see, sometimes it's anything but.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story is about a company called BTC Industries, a steel manufacturer. And like any smart business, they thought they had the perfect safety net in place for when things go wrong.
So here's how it all went down. Pretty straightforward, really. Back in August 2016, they bought a fire insurance policy. Then, about a year later, bam! A huge fire breaks out and wipes out a massive amount of their sponge iron stock. So they did exactly what you're supposed to do. They filed a claim for their losses. Everything seems to be going exactly to plan. So far, so good, right? Well, this is where our story takes a very sharp, very unexpected turn. That safety net they were counting on, it was about to completely vanish. The claim was repudiated. That's the official legalese term for it. But in plain English, it means their multi-million rupee claim was denied, completely, rejected. And that's the big mystery here. How does that even happen? You have a fire policy, you have a fire, and the insurance company still says, nope, not paying. Why? Well, the entire answer boils down to one very specific and kind of scientific detail.
You see, this whole multi-million rupee case would end up hinging on a single technical question. What actually caused the loss? In insurance talk, they call this the peril. Was it a typical fire started by a spark or a flame, or was it something else entirely?
So you had two totally different stories. BTC Industries said, look, it was an accident. A fire started near our furnace, it spread to the sponge iron. That's a fire, plain and simple, and that's what we're covered for. But the insurer, SBI General, came back and said, not so fast. This wasn't a fire from the outside. Your sponge iron lit itself on fire from the inside out. That's called spontaneous combustion, and your policy specifically says we don't cover that. So what on earth is spontaneous combustion? Think about a pile of oily rags in a corner or damp hay in a barn that just suddenly bursts into flames. Nobody lit a match, it's just internal chemical reactions generating so much heat that the thing ignites itself. The insurer was arguing that this is exactly what happened to 1,200 metric tons of sponge iron. Now, to solve this mystery, the insurance company didn't just guess. They sent in a specialist, an independent expert, a surveyor whose job was to get on the ground and find out what really happened. And this was no casual visit, okay? This was a formal, step-by-step investigation. The surveyor was on site immediately. He inspected the damage and noticed the entire pile of iron was basically cooking from the inside. He asked for key documents to verify the claim, and then he put it all together in a final report. That report, it would become the most critical piece of evidence in this whole affair. And look, this isn't just company procedure. The Supreme Court of India itself has said that a surveyor's report has huge legal weight. It's not just an opinion. It's considered a foundational document when it comes to settling an insurance claim. So, what did the surveyor find? Well, the news was not good for BTC Industries. The report concluded, number 1, that the fire was caused by spontaneous combustion. Number 2, it pointed out that sponge iron is well known for doing this. 3, and this is crucial, the surveyor saw that the entire pile was hot from within, not just burning from the side where the furnace was. And maybe the biggest red flag of all? BTC Industries refused to provide their stock registers, even after being asked multiple times. So, with the surveyor's expert report pointing in one very clear direction, the final answer had to be hiding in the one place most of us never look closely enough, the contract itself. And there it is, the smoking gun.
Right there in black and white, inside the policy's own definition of fire, is this little exclusion clause. It literally says the policy excludes damage caused by our property's own spontaneous combustion. That single sentence decided the fate of the entire 2.46 crore rupee claim.
So when this whole thing finally got to the consumer court, their logic was crystal clear. They pointed directly to the specific words written in that policy. The court highlighted that, yeah, they had a general fire policy, but insurance for this very specific risk, spontaneous combustion, had simply not been purchased.
And here's the key thing. This wasn't some uninsurable event. The court made it very clear that coverage was available. The company could have bought it, either as part of the main policy or as a special add-on. They just hadn't.
So with the surveyor's evidence and the explicit text of the policy both pointing the same way, the outcome was really inevitable. The final verdict? The court dismissed the company's complaint entirely. The insurance company had acted correctly based on the contract, and BTC Industries, they wouldn't see a single rupee of their 2.46 crore claim.
So let's recap why it all fell apart. The fire was caused by spontaneous combustion. The policy explicitly said that peril was not covered. A credible, expert surveyor's report backed that up. And in the end, the burden was on the company to prove the loss was from something they were covered for, and they just couldn't do it.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that an insurance policy isn't a vague promise. It's a strict contract. It only covers what's written inside of it. And just as importantly, it doesn't cover what the fine print says it excludes.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. It's so easy to focus on what our insurance promises to do for us, but after a story like this, maybe the real multi-million rupee question we should all be asking ourselves is this: do you know what your insurance policy doesn't cover?